everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the PlayStation 5 and compare it against the PlayStation 4 and see how both of these gaming consoles hold up in 2024. Now, the very first thing I'd recommend you to kind of think about in the back of your head is a few different things. One, these are two totally different consoles, but there is still a lot of overlap and a lot of similarity between these two devices when it kind of comes down to it. Now, for the most part, one of the biggest things to keep in mind is that the PlayStation 5 is going to be the better console for the everyday average person. If you have all the money in the world, clearly the PlayStation 5 is the better one. There can be some cases made where maybe the PlayStation 4 is a better one, but for the most part, I would say for the everyday average person, if you have all the money in the world, the PlayStation 5 is going to be more powerful, it's going to have more capability, and it's going to have a longer future ahead of it than something like the PlayStation 4. The only advantage I would say with the PlayStation 4 kind of nowadays maybe is like the price. You can probably buy a PlayStation 4. You can definitely buy a PlayStation 4 for significantly cheaper than something like the PlayStation 5. But also, if you're in the market and you want to go and buy one, it might just be, the capability that the PlayStation 4, there's more, PlayStation 4s available than the PlayStation 5s. So keep that in mind. If you want to pick up a PlayStation 5 though, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same exact time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular consoles, the biggest thing that you can kind of keep in mind here when it comes down to both these devices is the fact that the PlayStation 4 has a different design language than the PlayStation 5. So this is one of the more obvious things here. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to kind of figure this stuff out. So the thing with the PlayStation 4, in my personal opinion, it's still a very good looking console. It looks very beautiful. For the most part, there's not really that much to complain about here. And it was a very, very unique design back in 2013 or 2011 when this console first came out. And you can see on the exterior, I still think this thing looks very, very good. So for the most part, for one, the design language, like I said, is very nice. You have this like top slab portion that's like, kind of matte, and then a little bit of like a glossy one at the very top of it. You have this power button at the front, which is, normal. You are also getting these two USB ports on the front of this particular console, which is very nice to have. I love having those, ports on the very front. And even with the PlayStation 5, we do kind of have the same type of selection, but it's a different type of port selection. But it's still very nice that we have that type of capability there too. On top of that, on the backside, you're basically getting your HDMI port, you're getting an auxiliary port, Ethernet port, your AC adapter as well. And it's a good looking console. It definitely looks a little bit more dated compared to the current generation, but it definitely doesn't look that bad, and I still think it's a very, very good looking console when it comes down to it. The PlayStation 5, there's two different models of it. So there's the PlayStation 5 Slim. There's three. There's the PlayStation 5 Slim, the PlayStation 5 Digital, and the PlayStation 5 Disc model. Now, previously there was basically just the PlayStation 5 Digital and Disc, but last year we did get the Slim model. And there's not really too much I can say that isn't so obvious already. The PlayStation 5 definitely is going to be the better looking one in almost every single way. So with the PlayStation 5, whether you get the Disc or Digital, it's almost the same type of capability. You're just getting the disc tray inside of the disc one. Inside of the PlayStation 5 or outside of it, you're getting this very, very good looking console. And I personally think this is probably one of the better design consoles of all time. I love the design language of this console and I think it looks beautiful. So you can see on the exterior, you're getting these removable sides. So you can go ahead and basically remove these white slabs that kind of stick up. And you can replace them with other colors and other things like that, which I think is genuinely a very, very cool thing. On the front side, you're also getting these USB ports, which is also another very nice thing going on here too. And one thing I love about the PlayStation 5 is that you are getting a USB Type-C port. So this was something that was actually very cool, and I was very, very happy and excited to see this type of capability come for this particular device. Previously, we weren't really too sure if, these companies were going to start putting USB-C on their devices. And when, we had this, Xbox kind of come out and not give it, it was a little bit of a different story and not really too sure what's going on there. But at least we do have it on the PlayStation 5. Now with this particular console, having that type of capability in and of itself is very, very cool. And I'm very happy that we have these types of USB Type-C ports on the PlayStation 5. Now you're also getting USB-A. On the backside, you're getting more ports, an HDMI port as well, AC adapter, kind of the same type of layout, but definitely I would say for the most part, you're definitely getting a way better looking console, I would say, in almost every single way on the PlayStation 5 than from the PlayStation 4. But I will still say the PlayStation 4 still looks fairly nice, like it still looks fairly good. And I do think there's a lot of capability behind something like a PlayStation 4 too, because it still looks very good and there's still a lot of capability behind this console when it comes down to it. So from that side, it definitely gets a thumbs up for me for sure. Now, another big thing to kind of keep in mind here too is the fact that the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 do have a lot of overlapping capability as well, which is just one other thing to keep in mind here. So for one, whether you get the disc or the discless model, you are getting the capability of playing the same layer of games. So you are able to play PlayStation 4 games on both consoles, which is very nice. And even if you get the digital one, and if you do get the digital one, there's still a lot of, digital PlayStation 4 games that you can go and purchase as well, which is another very, very cool thing going on for that particular console. So for me personally, I'm a big fan of the PlayStation 4, and I do think from a gaming library perspective, there's still a lot of games that you can play inside of the PlayStation 4 as well. Things like all those PlayStation 4 games that came out, all those PlayStation 3 games that came out, I think PS2 and PS1 games, there's a lot of overlap there, and you can definitely play a ton of games available on the PlayStation 4, but it is quite obvious to me that the PlayStation 5 is the one that's going to have not only the better library right now, but also the future library as well. One of the biggest things you have to keep in mind with something like the PlayStation 5 is that probably, most likely for the next couple of years, all the games and a majority of the games that are going to be developed, a lot of the developers are going to make them for the PlayStation 5. There's just not a really, there's just no way in my head where I would see developers, kind of platforming the PlayStation 4 or making that the priority, where the PlayStation 5 is going to be a much more powerful console with a lot more capability. That one makes a lot more sense, where I would, imagine the game developers kind of focusing their attention on. So I say that to say, in my personal opinion, something like the PlayStation 5 makes a lot more sense for me to recommend from a gaming library perspective, especially when it comes down to the amount of games that are going to be available in the future. I would probably say the PlayStation 5, although it's not going to be supported forever, there's going to be games that are still going to be coming out from this thing, at least 5 to 10 years from now. 10 years maybe a stretch, but I could see this, console lasting for a very, very long amount of time. And on top of that, if there's another type of community that comes out, maybe a modding community that kind of stems from this, I think there's going to be a lot of, people who are going to be purchasing these devices just for the capability behind them. It is insane to me how good of a job Sony did with the PlayStation 5, and I do think for a lot of people, it in and of itself is still a very, very good console to go and buy from that particular perspective. So from that side, I would say definitely gets a thumbs up for me on the PlayStation 5. But then to swing back on the PlayStation 4, I still think that's a very good console as well. And from a power perspective, there's a lot of differences here too. On the PlayStation 4, you're getting a hard drive. The PlayStation 5, you're getting an SSD. You're getting twice the amount of RAM inside of the PlayStation 5 than the PlayStation 4. So that in and of itself is another big thing for you to basically double the amount of RAM that you're getting on this, newer type of device, which in and of itself, again, is crazy. You're getting a better type of GPU. You're getting higher clocked CPUs as well. So every single thing I could just kind of look at, it just makes more and more sense for me to kind of look at this particular console on the PlayStation 5 as it being the better one in almost every single way. But there are still some ways where I'd look at something like the PlayStation 4 and I'd be like, you know what, for the price, it's not a terrible phone, right? Or now look at something like the PlayStation 4 and I'd be like, for the price, it's not a terrible device, right? It's a pretty good gaming console still. And because of all those games that you have available for it, there's just so many games that you can just pick and choose. They're available all over the place. And on top of that, they're just not that expensive anymore. You can probably purchase a lot of those types of games in the used market for substantially cheaper than they were in the brand new market, many years ago. And it just makes more sense to go and pick up one of those things rather than this one. So when it comes down to it, what I'll probably tell you is I love the PlayStation 5 and I love the PlayStation 4. But I'd probably say if you have the money, just go for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. But if you want to save some money and save some money on games, get the PlayStation 4. There's still a ton of games available for that console as well. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.